Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. The Ukraine war is continuing and now comes the blame game. Both Russia and Ukraine are blaming each other. And the blame is that both countries are violating the conventions of Vienna Conventions, are indulging in war crimes, rape, murder, genocide, killing of the prisoners of war, and so on. Till now there was no proof, but then some videos have been recovered, and the UNO is reviewing those videos. Those videos show that the Russian soldiers who were arrested by Ukraine or who surrendered to Ukraine have been killed at a close range. Instead of being treated honorably, they have been killed. And according to the UN report itself, Ukrainians have executed 10 Russian prisoners of war, and that has been captured on the video. The video was reviewed by the New York Times, and they were shown that these people were not fleeing. They were under arrest. They were cold-blooded murder at a very close range. And this report should have been sufficient for the rules to ensure that the people who have no role to play except to obey the orders are not treated this way. The United Nations is reviewing whether this reality or not. Now, when New York Times, which is supposed to be, according at least to the UN, a gospel truth newspaper, and the grisly videos were initially posted on the Ukraine news sites and the social media channels. Amazingly, they have confessed indirectly that they have murdered these soldiers in cold blood. However, the Ukraine government says, no, we didn't show the actual killing, we showed the before and after. So the soldiers are alive, breathing, existing, eating, whatever, or bleeding before the killing. And then the second video shows they are lying on the ground and they appear to have been shot dead at a close range. That is admitted by Ukraine. Now, did gods come from heaven to kill them? Did the Russians themselves kill them? Now, allegations of the war crimes, as I said, of rape, torture, executions have been reported against both, as I said, Russia and Ukraine. But, nevertheless, there has been no such proof of Russia indulging in war crimes. Let me tell you, I am no apologist for Russia. Each country does it. And according to the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine and the head Matlida Bogna, she says that the mistreatment of Ukrainian prisoners by the Russians is systematic, while it's not systematic for Ukraine to mistreat Russian soldiers. Now, this plea is more a presumption than a reality because Matlida has not gone to the prisoner of war camps which are maintained, administered by Russia. She has seen, maybe she is right. But simply to make a statement, especially when UN has not finished the review, and they will not finish it because they don't want to blame Ukraine. Ukraine is a holy cow for the West at present, a bulwark against the Russian bugbears' expansion designs. Now, what normally happens is, if a country is believed to have committed a war crime during war, then it's not for the UN to intervene. No, here is a basic thing. UN is a party to it, having passed resolutions against Russia, the General Assembly, because in the Security Council they were vetoed. UN becomes the party. And having become a party, you cannot be both a party and a judge. Here, it appears the UNO and the West are both the defendants, are the prosecutors, and the judge. Now, what the actual legal position is that if there is a belief, no proof, so it can be done in both cases. So if a country is believed to have committed a war crime during conflict, the case is handled by ICC, International Crime Court. And what does that do? They institute an inquiry commission to investigate the matter and then provide punishment where appropriate. But ICC has not done it. And here the videos are there of the Russian soldiers being killed in cold blood. Rather, as I said earlier, Matilda Bogner, the head of the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission, has has already blamed Russia and exonerated, whitewashed the crimes of Ukraine. Now, unfortunately, the chairperson, Eric Messe, says that the Commission has visited 27 towns and settlements and interviewed more than 100 victims and witnesses. However, she is very quiet about telling were these 27 towns in Ukraine control or were they in Russian control? Well, if they were in both, then there can be some acceptance of the validity of the statement. And she says that they also inspected sites of destruction, graves, places of detention and torture, as well as remnant of the weapons. That's fine. But the basic factor is, were these 27 towns and settlements under Ukraine control or under Russian control? Because that makes a difference. If they were under Ukraine control, then Ukraine is guilty. If they were under Russian control, then Russia is guilty. Now, based on the evidence gathered so far, during the Commission's existence, we found that after having carried out the investigation, in these 4 areas just mentioned, we found that war crimes have been committed in Ukraine. Now, who committed them? That's a problem. She has, in fact, blamed Russia because in Ukraine, the crime is committed, Russia has committed it. But if Ukraine has committed a crime in Ukraine itself, on the Russians, and the Russians are the victim, then Ukraine is guilty. She is keeping absolutely quiet about the nationality of the victims. This shows the bias. This shows that the Commission is not honest and it has a hidden purpose. Now, these conclusions reached by Mossad are in line with the findings published this year by Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine. And we have already said how they are biased. Now, it documented the unlawful killing, including summary execution of civilians, in more than 30 settlements of Kharkov and Sunny regions where the Russian armed forces. Absolutely acceptable. I can believe it. If Russians have done it during their invasion when they were still in control of Kiev and they had not withdrawn, it's quite possible they controlled them. But no, let's assume they did it. Okay? Then the normal course is to institute a commission, interview them, prosecute them, and do it. then why not be even-handed and honest? Why hasn't the Human Rights Commission castigated Ukraine as well as on the basis of the videos which have emerged of the killing of the soldiers? And that's a bigger crime. Now let me tell you. According to the Vienna Convention, killing soldiers is the most heinous crime, especially when they are under your control, when they have been arrested. You remember India had over 97,000 prisoners of war during Bangladesh war. 97,000. Not a few, 10, not 20, not 100, not 100,000, but 97,000. And they were given better treatment than the Indian soldiers were given. They were given protection, they were given health facilities, they were given food, they were given shelter. There was no torture at all. And even the inquiry commissions which went there to talk to them just asked their names and the regiment numbers. That's it. And that's a proper way to do it in line with the Vienna Commission. Now, coming back, according to this monitoring mission, the other key findings from the report include surprising large number of executions in 16 towns and settlements where common elements of crime included visible signs of execution on bodies such as hands and behind backs, gunshot wounds on the head and the slit throats. Again, they are absolutely quiet whether they were the Russian or they were the Ukrainians. If they were Russians, then the fault is of the Ukraine and the guilty is Ukraine. If they were Russians, Ukraine. If they were Ukrainians, then Russians. Now, a report delivered to the Human Rights Commission just this Friday, 5 days back, documented how explosive weapons had been used by the Russian Federation forces without distinguishing between civilian and combatants in popular. Now, let me ask the Honorable Commission, when you are having hand-to-hand fight in populated areas, how do you differentiate between the civilian and combatant? And if you remember, Ukraine had admitted that it is the civilians who are fighting. When the civilians come out with the guns, then whether they are in uniform or not, they are combatants. But then Commission had its colored glasses on. They said, no, they are not wearing the uniform. They might be firing. So the Russians, what should they do? They should quietly be killed. That's what the Commission is hinting at. And then it says, we were struck by large number of executions and other violations by the Russian forces, which Commission perceives consistent account of torture and ill treatment. But not a word about what UN is investigating and what New York Times says. So this is a curious situation. One body of UN says Russia is guilty. Other body says that they have got the videos whether Ukraine is guilty. But the main body, the Commission, is quiet about that. Then there are horrific complaints about sexual violence, including against children. And they say that investigated the report and they found 2 instances of ill treatment of Russian Federation soldiers by the Ukrainian soldiers. And we mentioned this in our statement. We found, and then they come to a conclusion. Now, this is the height of judicial partiality. You are investigating. The investigation has still not been complete. And you say a significant large number of instances, that amount of war crime, is on the part of Russian Federation. Yes, Ukrainians have also indulged in it. Okay. Punish both of them. But whitewashing and diminishing the crime of one party whom you favor is not acceptable. But then this is exactly what happens. The winner takes all. In the Second World War, all the guilty people who were hanged at Nuremberg trials were either fascists or Nazis. You mean to say all the Allied forces were lily white, innocent? No, they were not. Why were they not punished? Should General Patton not have been prosecuted for having killed the civilians? Because when the guns and the tanks fired, they didn't differentiate between the civilians and the combatants. Would this thing, this biased reporting and biased judging continue? Yes, it would. It's a part of human nature. I'm not exonerating them. I'm not condemning them. But we have got to be honest at one time or the other and tell Ukraine and Russia both that it's not acceptable. Women and children are not part of the conflict. They are the victims. And they, being the vulnerable sections of society, need to be protected. And the guilty must be punished, whether it's a Ukrainian or Russian. But as the facts are, because there is no documentary proof against the Russians, but there is a documentary proof, videos, which have been admitted by the Ukrainian government. So why not at least start prosecuting with those people who are admittedly at fault? Or is this asking too much? Your child is innocent even if he is a gangster. Other child may be guilty because of association. That's a trend which I see today in the Ukrainian war. And that's a bad trend because that will result in further alienation of one part of the society and a major part. Russia and China would take it that the West is oriented against them, which it is. But here is admitting the fact, and that's not a very happy sign. Thank you.